Hello, I am Lucy Baldwin. Welcome to another episode of The Seven Living with the Planets. This podcast is all about magic and doing planetary magic as a path of self growth, spirituality, and getting what we want. Speaking of getting what we want, today's episode is all about Venus magic. And if you know anything about Venus, Venus is very much related to desire and pleasure and worldly, earthly pleasures and desires. And we're going to get into it today. So, one of the easiest ways to explain Venus is the feminine. And I don't mean feminine like girly, I mean feminine like the divine, feminine, the receiving way of being, the one who gets pregnant, the one who births worlds is the female. So the male plants seeds, the male uh, way is to go out and do and to create through doing. And the feminine way is to receive, to make beautiful, to attract. And there's a big piece here that I'm going to talk about with fertility and creating that nutrient dense soil for seeds to sprout and grow roots in. And I just want to mention right from the gate, this has nothing to do with like men and women and gender. This is about the energies of the masculine and the feminine. So the receiving and the penetrating, right? So the feminine is penetrated and the masculine penetrates. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about energies, we're talking about archetypes. And um, I am actually a very martial, sort of masculine person in a lot of ways. I really orient towards doing and actually have a hard time receiving. So, Venus magic is medicine for me, and it has nothing to do with gender. So, I just want to make that really clear. I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about these energies. And so the feminine side of this, and Venus in particular, is very much about nourishment. It's very sensual. It's very creatively oriented. I mean, I think that all of the planets are centered around creation. I think that everything is in service to creation. I think that that's what we do. That's what we are. We are creative beings. But Venus is about the beauty in creation. Venus is beautiful. Venus is form. Venus is love and relationships and attraction and being attractive and seduction and being seductive. And also Venus is very embodied. So the masculine is often associated with the mind. It's mental, and the feminine is the embodiment. It's physical. And so we are talking about the real physical world and making beauty in that world. And Venus is associated with the color green. You can really think of that like that's because plants are green, life is green. It's very much about life and being alive. Yeah. And so Venus, like where Mars chases, Venus magnetizes. So Venus is drawing you to her. She's receiving you. This is the chalice, right? And so with Venus magic, we're not forcing things, we're seducing them. We're not pushing for things, we're just allowing them. So it's a very different energy from going out and doing. And so if you're somebody who struggles to relax and receive and allow the magic to happen, allow things to unfold, and you feel like you're always grinding and trying to force things, then Venus magic is going to be so powerful for you. If you're already a more Venus oriented person, that would look like maybe having a harder time going out and doing things, that would look like being really receptive and open and being very social and allowing your network to support you. Our society, probably you know this, really seems to it really sort of pushes us in the direction of being more Mars, being more masculine. Our society tends to kind of favor that Mars way of being. Which is not to say that you can't be successful in a much more Venusian way of being, because you absolutely can. Just that we sort of celebrate, we have this productivity culture, we have this go, go, go caffeine culture. And so it's really easy to get swept up in that. And if you find that you are swept up in that, then Venus magic will be incredibly helpful for you. And especially if you feel like you're prioritizing like doing things over relationships that mean a lot to you or connecting with people. Um, Venus is very much about connecting, and it's about love, of course, because, you know, that is that is what Venus wants. She's a lover, she's the beautiful love goddess. And, I was thinking about this, how Venus magic kind of is what the law of attraction has always been trying to be. Venus is that receiving, is that attracting force. And so doing Venus magic is like working with the law of attraction, but in a totally different framework that I think is more grounded, more holistic, and where we are like going into our bodies more. I think law of attraction is very like in the head. And so we want to do it from the body. And yeah, like we're using desire to attract what we want. And of course, I'll always talk about how important it is to not repress or turn things away and not use shame and not run away from our fears or our angst or our discomfort or things that we don't want. We have to face those things. And I think this is just, since I'm addressing law of attraction, this is where law of attraction fails. This is why people are like, I thought about millions of dollars every day and I never got it. Well, because there's more than just that. It's, first of all, true manifestation comes from embodying your truth. It has to be true for you to attract it. Uh, you can't like convince yourself of a truth that doesn't exist in your body and use that to magnetize things. It has to be in the body. It has to be, because that's where matter is. We're trying to bring things from the like spirit mind into physical matter. And Venus, that's what Venus does, right? That's what the female does. She takes the sperm and grows it into a human. The sperm is like, it's like an idea that's been planted, and she births it as a fully formed human. So this is what Venus does. She is the ultimate manifester. Um, but we can't ignore the truth, and we can always find the truth in our body. Of course, we can find it in our mind too. This is that back and forth between mind and body. It's in both places. But with Venus, we're looking for it in the body because Venus is the body. Venus makes life, makes embodied life. Um, so, yeah, and with Venus, we're talking about pleasure, and pleasure is a form of, pleasure is tells us so much. And I think that another thing that our society kind of trains us to be afraid of or to be better than, let's say, is pleasure. Pleasure is, it shows us what we want. It shows us where our desire is. It also brings us into the body. Being with pleasure in our body, so many of us avoid that. We're terrified of it. It's it's actually uncomfortable. Pleasure can be extremely uncomfortable when we're not used to feeling it. And so being in your body in pleasure and really allowing yourself to feel pleasure and honor your pleasure and follow your pleasure is is an incredible, like, that's the wisdom of Venus. Um so and then I would say like the shadow of that is to be, obviously not so short-term pleasure oriented, right? We want to be careful with that. And also thinking about desire. So we don't want to be over attached to comfort. Um, and we don't want to be like, oh, this is a big one, seeking external validation. So and also, we don't wanna be thinking that beauty is truth or that beauty is meaning, and by beauty, there's different I talk about beauty actually all the time. So there's, like, true beauty, like heart-centered beauty, like numinous beauty, like God beauty. Um, there is truth in that kind of beauty. What I mean is, like, aesthetic, um, treating like aesthetic like, don't judge a book by its cover, right? It's like we just because things look good doesn't mean that they are good. And so not getting swept up in illusions and fantasies and facades. So that's something that we're cautious of. And the way that we avoid that is by being in the body, right? The way that we kind of can check ourselves and know and feel into those things and avoid that sort of trap that I'm talking about is by being in the body, and that's the finding the balance and finding your truth. You can find that with Venus in your own like feelings in your body and your intuition, of course. So, a lot of spirituality that I think is born out of this kind of obsession with the mind and thinking and doing, it's teaching us to escape. It's showing us, it's sort of all about escaping. It's like transcending the human experience and transcending your body with your mind. And it often leads to just like detaching from the body. And I mean, I've experienced this in my own spiritual journey, spiritual seeking. For many years, I was kind of blasted out of my body, having these far out spiritual experiences that were incredibly intense and deep and wonderful and powerful, and also so disembodied and so disembodying. And so, I want to talk about, like we're not trying to I mean, maybe you are, but I don't think that I incarnated here as a person, as a human in a body to transcend my humanity. I think I'm here to embrace my humanity. And I do think that that's what Venus is reminding us to do, is to be in our body and, and follow our pleasure and listen to our bodies and what it's telling us. And this is a big part of intuition, of cultivating intuition, is to be embodied and to connect with the feelings that you're feeling. I was thinking about, because I did an episode recently about the moon, and the moon is another feminine deity, feminine archetype, but it feels really different. So the moon, when I think of the moon, always with the feminine, or not always, but a lot of times when I think of manifesting with these feminine deities, and a common symbol for doing magic to manifest things is to, sort of plant a seed. And when I think of that with the moon, I think of a bowl of water. Like I'm always thinking of bowls of water when I'm doing magic with the moon, of course, because the moon is watery and emotional. And so I imagine like planting a seed in water, and you can plant seeds in water. Um, but with Venus, it's the difference with this feminine is soil. We're planting the seed in soil, and Venus sort of is that soil. And so that's why fertility is this word that comes up again and again for me, that I've been sort of seeing when I'm doing my Venus work, is this idea of the fertile soil that we plant seeds in, and they can grow and be nourished. And the seed sprouts and it grows into whatever it's going to be. And the fertility is, it's not something that you go out and do, it's something that you create within yourself. It's something that you create by being in your body and by taking care of your body and being that vessel, and, nurturing yourself and caring for yourself. And I don't mean fertility in terms of getting pregnant, I'm talking about being able to create anything. It's like we need to have that fertile soil that our ideas can come into such that we're able to grow healthy creations. And so it's this sense of having an embodied experience and way of living and being in that kind of relationship with yourself and where you are embodied and where you don't just sort of like check out and forget to eat and forget to drink and not sleep, but actually just really simply take care of yourself in those ways. And then ideas and anything that comes into your field, like you have, you're this fertile, rich soil that you can take what is right and true to grow. And which isn't to say that we don't all sometimes accidentally grow weeds, things that are end up being distractions. But that's okay because we need to have that fertility in order to be able to create anything. And so we need to be available and able and have kind of the space and bandwidth for ourselves. And so that means being open and being receptive and being able to receive. And of course, the connection part of this is so huge because it's like we all need each other. We are a network of humans that we're all connected. When you think about it on a larger scale, our entire society, our entire world is just one big human network that we're all connected on. We're all connected to, we're all hooked up to it. I'm not talking about the internet, I'm talking about relationships, just human relationships. And, I remember when I was a kid, there was this idea of like 6 degrees of separation, that everybody is connected through only 6 degrees of separation. And I don't know if that's true. I think that it's actually less than that. And I don't mean like online. I mean people that you actually know. And I do wonder if the internet is changing that, like if there is maybe more connection online, but less people that we all actually know in real life. I'm not sure. I don't know. But what I do know is that we are becoming more and more isolated, and it is incredibly important for us to connect with each other. And Venus encourages us to, love each other and to prioritize love and prioritize connections and to be open to other people and to receive from them. And I keep talking about receiving. This is something that is honestly really hard for me. I think it's one of my like biggest challenges is to be willing to receive help and just all kinds of things. Like we really struggle, and there is actually good reason for this. Reciprocity is really important to humans. And I've found that I can receive as long as I feel like I'm reciprocating. And probably you can relate to this because it's actually very natural. It's actually very natural and inherent for us to want to reciprocate because it was important that we be giving back to our communities and giving back to our group such that we weren't like taking more than our fair share. And we tracked that. Like we keep track of those things. People do. We are really good at tracking and sort of keeping score, not because we're selfish or anything like that. It's just part of how we evolved. It's just a really key piece of like the human puzzle is, maintaining these healthy networks requires that we sort of monitor them and that we make sure that we're all contributing and that we feel good about the ways that we're helping each other and receiving help. And so I think that there's a lot of people, we want to be an island. We want to be able to do it all on our own. We want to be able to be independent and self sufficient, especially women. It's a response to feeling like we've been told that we can't or we shouldn't. Um, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I am saying that let's work together because that's actually what is true for us. So what is natural for us is to do it together and to help each other and to have giving and taking and to receive from people. I want to end by giving you a couple ideas of ways to work with Venus and to call in this receiving energy and also to do like manifestation magic because we we love that. Okay, so I'm going to recommend just a little quick Venus ritual where you take a small container of soil and plant. I mean, I think it would be fun to plant a little gem, like a little, if you have a little quartz crystal or something like that, just like something pretty or something that's associated with Venus. So, quartz, any kind of pink or green gems, but really any color. I would probably light a candle. You could read a poem to Venus to call Venus in. You don't have to, but I would. You can just search on Google Orphic hymn to Venus, read your poem to Venus, and then take your soil. You can make a little offering too if you want to. You could put out, like some chocolate out for Venus or something like that, some strawberries, maybe just like a drink, a chocolate beverage or something like that, some hot chocolate, maybe some tea. Make your offering. And then I would plant something, like I would plant something in some soil and I would say, Venus. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. You could say, show me what wants to grow. You could say, if you feel like you want to have more ability to create and bring things into fruition, you could say, like, make me fertile. Venus, help me be the fertile soil to grow my ideas. You could say, you're planting the seed of manifesting something that you're trying to manifest. You could ask Venus to show you who do you know that could help you create this thing or manifest this thing. And, anything you want to ask Venus for. But the idea is that we're planting something in the soil and we're covering it. And I would leave it for a couple of days, maybe 3 days. 3 is associated with Venus. And then on the third day, you could bury it in the ground outside. You could do any number of things with it. Um, you're not going to mess it up. Just want to tell you that. Yeah. So just planting something in the name of Venus and asking her to guide you in whatever it is you're trying to create, whatever it is that you're trying to do, or whatever it is that you're trying to become. And then, of course, thanking Venus. It's all about thanking Venus and thank Venus for bringing you such amazing people, bringing you such amazing connections, for helping you receive whatever it is that you're trying to receive. And yeah, that's what I'm going to leave you with here today. So thank you so much for listening to another episode of The Seven. And let me know in the comments what you decide to do with Venus if you do some Venus magic. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next episode.